With the conclusion of Masters Shanghai and upcoming stage 2 of each of the Valorant leagues, I decided to rank each and every team in Pacific based on whether they stand a chance in attending champions in Seoul, South Korea or are bound to end up sitting on their couches in August. Each team will be ranked in these 6 categories: Champions Guaranteed, Contenders for Champions, Playoff Bound, Upset Potential, and Trash. Also, if you're new here or have been here before, please consider subscribing. It's free, helps the channel a ton, and you can always unsubscribe. Enjoy! Let's start with the recent Masters Shanghai winners, Genji. The messiah of Pacific Valorant finally brought us a trophy, and the way they won wasn't a fluke either. They were able to dominate maps and showed that they really did deserve to not only be there, but that they deserve the mantle of being the best team in the world. Genji are coming back with a target on their back, however. Now that every other team in the Pacific League knows that winning in the Pacific style is possible, and Genji has the blueprint, most of them will be studying their vaults in order to learn how to do it. While it is great for the region, it is not particularly great for Genji, as they are the most likely to be enchantred during the entire stage 2. And after the exhilarating high that they are bound to face from winning Shanghai, I do expect them to face a bit of a slump at the beginning of stage 2 before shaking the rust off and going back into form again. But I will be crazy to not put them in S tier. Next up on the other side of success, Bleed Esports. Bleed is currently a team that is a dumpster fire right now, and that is an understatement. With the addition of Ye and the removal of their IGL last split, they stumbled to being the bottom of the league with literally no chance of qualifying for champions even if they win all their games. While the removal of Ye and the reintroduction of their IGL crazy guy was a nice touch to their off season, I do expect them to finish near the bottom of the league. But the addition of Zest is a nice touch as he has been the most consistent person in their team. F tier however. Talent Esports. This team is literally the definition of mid, and it's so sad because they had so much potential. That's because their coach is not the biggest fan of his own team, as he has been bad-mouthing his players the entire split 1. How are you trashing your own team while being employed by them and still getting away with it? I do not understand. Comparing your own team to your previous one when said previous team literally did not accomplish anything is sad and a bit upsetting, as it shows that the coaches themselves does not believe in his own players. These affect the mentals of these players and could be detrimental to their playstyle. C tier. DFM. Literally the worst team of the league. I have no idea why they aren't clicking, since they do have a really solid duelist in Mei, who is one of the best Japanese duelists in the world right now. But ever since their formation, DFM is bad and is not even close by any metric. At this point, it has to be a coaching issue because they've rotated their entire lineup from last year and they are still this atrocious in terms of tactics and playstyles. While they did get their first win, it was against T1, F tier. RRQ. While they did have a pretty middle of the pack season, the addition of Moniac coming into their lineup makes them push above their weight in terms of actually being competitive during this split. However, I am not the biggest fan of this hybrid Philo Indo roster due to purely the fact that if RRQ wanted to, they could completely field a competitive Indonesian roster that will be competing for Masters and Champions slot instead of being down with a bunch of average teams. C tier. DRX. With the loss of their IGL stacks, it's hard to rank DRX in terms of how successful they would be. While they do have veteran presence in their team, with Marco and Baz still being on the roster, their IGL status has been transferred to BN, who has little to no experience on stage nor IGLing for his team. With 3/5 of their rosters being young, inexperienced players that came from their academy roster, it's hard to gauge how well they would do during the upcoming split. With Foxy9 taking up the Sentinel role and Flashbacks recently joining their rank, I do predict them to make a push towards champions but falling a little behind in terms of actually winning stage 2. A tier. Team Secret. There seems to be a trend with teams this season picking up younger players mid-season, as that is exactly what Team Secret did. With Balcom and NDJ leaving their roster, they've gotten a Wild Aura from Oasis Gaming, a prominent rookie that's a bit on the older side, and 2J Monster from RRQ to fill the holes left behind. While they've kept their boomer IGL of Jesse Vest, their roster is one of the youngest in the league, with most of them being below 20 years old. I do think Jesse Vash has the chance to lead their team into the playoffs, but they will struggle against the higher ended teams with their new recent addition. B tier. Let's talk about T1. With a disappointing showing at Shanghai, T1 plans to regroup under their newest addition Stack, who will be most likely their IGL moving forward. While I do not know who Stacks will be replacing for this split, I can make an educated guess on it. With Rossi being their most consistent player and Saya player being one of the best duelists in the league, it is up to their coach Autumn to choose between Izu, Carpe and Escuret in terms of who are they gonna bench. The reason why I say that is that 6-man rosters never work. Talon did it last season and it crashes their international hopes after being so successful doing lock-in. I do see that they might bench Escrow, however, due to him not being good at what he's meant to do for most of their strats, being an anchor on a side and opping. I've seen him miss a lot during the first duels, and while he did do well during his CS days, the mechanics are simply more rigid in Valorant. Thus, he might want to sit up the rest of this season in order to adjust his playstyle to a more rifle-heavy meta right now. I do see them making a push for champions due to them simply being better at their gunfights, but they might fall flat during the playoffs. B tier. Paper Rex. I have a love-hate relationship with this team. You all already know my qualms about how this team plays and how I hate their playstyle, but their firepower is simply better overall in the end. I really wish they picked up Stacks, however, due to him being able to match their energy in terms of being a vibe merchant and being able to rally his team's mental, but I digress. This team is obviously going to make champions mainly based on points, but I really hope that they are able to take that Shanghai loss into a learning experience. I want them to succeed. We all do, but it's hard to see them lose on the biggest stage time and time again. Maybe a lot of people think that Genji winning a trophy for Pacific had lessened the expectation of them globally, but I personally think that it had heightened their expectations, since Genji proved that an Apex style team is able to win internationally. A tier however. Global Esports. This team is a mess, and I don't know why, but this is the second time they've hit the full reset button and they are still underperforming in terms of what they can do on the roster. The vibes are there and they seem to get along well, but personally I think their strats and gunfights are all over the place, and only Povir, Rust and Lightning Fast are able to somewhat handle the Apex style of their opponents, where it's just gunfight heavy. Lightning Fast has shown flashes of brilliance, but he is too inconsistent that it's mostly flipping a coin to see how well he plays. The team itself feels that it needs more time to gel, so I really hope GE doesn't blow up the roster again, because the last time they did this experiment, they had Texture and Monyet on the same team. Look at them now. I don't see them making a push, but they are definitely not the worst team in Valorant. C tier. Zeta Division. At this point, we are begging them to do well. They have had a disappointing split overall, with them finishing near dead last in the standings. They might do another late season push like last year, but in my opinion, it's clear that their IGI and coaching is not helping them adapt to the current meta. I believe that this is their last chance as a team to prove themselves that they can compete in an international level, but I don't see them doing so. They should probably blow up the roster next season while keeping players like Sugar Zero and Def to a certain extent, since they have been the most consistent out of all of them. I don't see them keeping less, however, since not only his IGLing could be the culprit to why they are underperforming, but he was only good during the Chamber meta, and that was 2 years ago, and I don't see Chamber being as dominant as 2 years ago. C tier. So this is my tier list. Let me know your opinions below and whether you agree to it. Since I know most of you are Apex Copium fans, don't worry, I'm one of them too. Also, if you like these types of longer in-depth videos, do let me know. They are a pain to edit and record, but if you like it, I'll probably do more of them.